The observation hall of the Galactic Academy was filled with students from across the known universe. Yuna stood near the back, her dark hair pulled into a simple ponytail, watching the enormous screen at the front of the room. She was one of only 15 humans at the Academy, and at 24 years old, she was here to learn everything she could about alien technology and engineering. The screen showed a spinning image of what looked like a maze, but Yuna knew it was much more than that. This was the Crucible trial, and today Master Kelvrith would explain why no one would attempt it this year. Master Kelvrith walked onto the stage. He was tall, with 4 arms made of what looked like blue crystal. His species had been part of the galactic community for thousands of years. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the hall without needing any microphone. "Students," he began, "today I will tell you about the Crucible trial. Many of you have heard stories about it. Some of those stories are true." The room became very quiet. Even the usual whispers stopped. "The Crucible trial was created 300 years ago," Master Kelvrith continued. "It tests everything we value: intelligence, problem-solving, physical ability, emotional control, and creativity. It is a simulation, but inside it feels completely real. You will face 12 stages. Each stage is harder than the last." Yuna leaned forward slightly. She had read about the Crucible in the Academy archives, but most of the information was restricted. "In 300 years, Master Kelvrith said, his crystalline face somehow looking sad. "Only 7 students have passed. The last successful attempt was 112 years ago." A murmur went through the crowd. Yuna heard a student behind her whisper, "Only 7? In 300 years?" Master Kelvrith raised one of his 4 hands and the room fell silent again. "This year I must tell you that the Crucible will not be available for attempts." The murmur became louder. Students looked at each other in confusion. "Why not?" someone called out. "Because," Master Kelvrith said, "we have analyzed the trial using new artificial intelligence systems. We studied the cognitive patterns of all 47 species in the galactic community. The AI has determined that the current Crucible setting is mathematically impossible to complete." Not difficult, impossible. Yuna felt her heart beat faster. Impossible was an interesting word. "The simulation adapts," Master Kelvrith explained. "It learns from your choices and changes to counter your strategies. Our analysis shows that by stage 6 or 7, the AI becomes unbeatable. It knows how every known species thinks. It knows how to stop you before you even make your move." A student near the front, a tall alien with purple skin, raised his hand. "Then what is the purpose of the trial?" "Originally," Master Kelvrith said, "it was meant to identify truly exceptional minds. Now we believe it has become too advanced. We are redesigning it. Until then, attempting the Crucible would only waste your time and potentially harm your academic confidence." Yuna's hand went up. Master Kelvrith's eyes, which looked like small galaxies swirling in his crystal head, focused on her. "Yes, the human in the back? Has the AI analysis included human cognitive patterns?" Yuna asked. Her voice was steady, but inside her mind was racing. Master Kelvrith's expression was hard to read, but Yuna thought she saw something like amusement. "Humans have been part of the galactic community for only 30 years. Your species represents less than 0.003% of our data. Statistically, you are irrelevant to the analysis." Some of the alien students laughed. It was not mean laughter, just the sound of people who thought something was funny because it was true. Yuna did not smile. She did not frown. She simply nodded and sat back down. The presentation continued for another hour, but Yuna barely heard it. Her mind was working on a problem, turning it over and over, looking at it from different angles. When the presentation ended, students filed out of the observation hall. Yuna stayed in her seat staring at the screen, which now showed the Academy's logo. "You're thinking something dangerous." The voice came from beside her. Yuna turned to see Minho, one of her fellow human students. He was training to be a pilot and had become her friend during their first week at the Academy. He had short black hair and an easy smile, but right now, he looked worried. "Define dangerous," Yuna said. "The kind of thinking that makes you do something everyone says you shouldn't do," Minho replied. He sat down next to her. "You want to try the Crucible?" It was not a question. They said it's impossible. Yuna said, "Yes, impossible. That means don't do it." They said it's impossible based on data that doesn't include us. Yuna turned to face him. "Minho, what if humans think differently enough that the AI can't predict us? What if we don't?" Minho countered. What if we fail just like everyone else and then we look stupid? Looking stupid never killed anyone. The trial is designed to feel completely real, Minho said. The pain is real. The fear is real. People have come out of failed attempts with psychological trauma. But it's still a simulation, Yuna said. No one actually dies, Minho sighed. He knew that tone in her voice. He had heard it before, when she decided to rebuild an engine that 3 alien engineers said was unfixable. She had fixed it. You're really going to do this? Someone has to, Yuna said simply. Why? Yuna was quiet for a moment. She looked at the empty stage where Master Kelvrith had stood. When I was 12, my grandfather told me a story. He was a rescue pilot in the outer colonies. One day, a mining station sent out a distress call. A reactor was melting down. Everyone calculated the time and distance. The math said my grandfather couldn't get there before the explosion. Every computer simulation said it was impossible. But he went anyway, Minho asked. He went anyway, Yuna confirmed, and he saved 43 people. Later, when someone asked him how he beat the impossible numbers, he said he didn't beat them. He just ignored them long enough to find a way. That's not very scientific, Minho said. No, Yuna agreed, standing up. But it's very human. She walked toward the exit. Minho followed her. When are you going to register for the trial? He asked. Tomorrow morning, Yuna said. I want to watch all the archived footage of previous attempts tonight. That's going to take all night. There are hundreds of attempts on record, Yuna smiled. It was the first time she had smiled since the presentation started. Then I should start now. As they walked through the corridors of the Academy station, they passed windows that looked out into space. A neutron star spun in the distance, its light strange and beautiful. Around it, thousands of ships and stations moved in carefully calculated orbits. Everything was mathematical. Everything was predictable. Yuna looked at her reflection in the window. Tomorrow she would do something unpredictable. She tied her ponytail tighter and kept walking. The registration office was small and empty when Yuna walked in the next morning. She had not slept. Her eyes felt heavy, but her mind was sharp and focused. She had watched 57 recorded attempts of the Crucible trial. Each one had ended in failure. The office clerk was a small alien who looked like a floating jellyfish with too many eyes. When Yuna approached the desk, several of those eyes focused on her while others continued working on a holographic display. How can I help you? The clerk asked in a bored voice. I want to register for the Crucible trial, Yuna said. All of the clerk's eyes turned to look at her now. The Crucible is closed for registration. Did you not attend yesterday's presentation? I did attend, Yuna said. I heard everything Master Kelvrith said. I still want to register. The clerk's tentacles moved in what might have been confusion. That's not possible. The trial is closed. Show me the rule that says students cannot register, Yuna said calmly. The clerk's eyes blinked in sequence, like tiny waves. Then, with obvious reluctance, the alien pulled up another holographic screen. After a moment of searching, the clerk made a sound like bubbles popping. There is no rule, the clerk admitted. The trial is marked as not recommended, but registration is technically still open. Then I would like to register, Yuna said. This is highly irregular, the clerk said. I need to contact Master Kelvrith. That's fine, Yuna said. I'll wait. 20 minutes later, Master Kelvrith entered the office. His 4 crystalline arms reflected the light in the room, creating small rainbows on the walls. He did not look happy. Student Yuna, he said. The clerk tells me you wish to register for the Crucible trial. Yes, sir, Yuna said. Did you not understand yesterday's presentation? Master Kelvrith asked. The trial is impossible. The AI counters every strategy. You will fail. Probably, Yuna agreed. But I'd like to try anyway. Master Kelvrith studied her with his galaxy eyes. Why? What do you hope to prove? I don't hope to prove anything, Yuna said. I want to see the trial for myself. I want to understand why it's impossible. You can watch recordings, Master Kelvrith said. Recordings don't show everything, Yuna replied. They don't show what the person was thinking. They don't show the small details that might matter. Master Kelvrith was silent for a long moment. Then he said, I will allow your registration on one condition. You must first speak with Counselor Vexthar. He oversees student safety. If he approves, you may attempt the trial. Yuna nodded. When can I speak with him? He will see you this afternoon, Master Kelvrith said. But I warn you, Student Yuna, Counselor Vexthar does not approve of reckless behavior. After Master Kelvrith left, Una walked to the station's human quarters. Most of the human students lived in the same section, which made it easier to find food they could actually eat. The Academy tried its best, but most alien food was either poisonous to humans or tasted terrible. She found Minho and 2 other humans in the common area. Hana, a medical officer, was reading on a datapad. Jiho, who studied communications, was arguing with someone over a video call. When Jiho ended his call, he turned to Una. "I heard you tried to register for the Crucible. Is it true?" News traveled fast on the station. "Yes," Una said simply. "That's insane," Jiho said. He was older than the others, almost 30, and he had seen more of the galaxy. "You know that trial breaks people, right?" "I've read reports. Students who come out of it sometimes can't sleep for weeks. The simulation is too real." "I know," Una said. Hana looked up from her datapad. She was quiet most of the time, but when she spoke, people listened. "Why are you doing this, Una?" Una sat down in one of the chairs. It was designed for a species with 3 legs, so it always felt strange to humans, but it was better than standing. "Because Master Kelvrith said the trial is impossible based on analysis of 47 species. Humans aren't really included in that analysis." "So?" Jiho asked. "So maybe we're different enough that the AI can't predict us," Una said. "Or maybe we're not different at all," Jiho countered. "Maybe we fail just like everyone else, and then what?" "You get hurt for nothing?" "If I fail, at least we'll know," Una said. "At least we'll have data." Minho, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "I think she should try." Jiho looked at him in surprise. "You're supporting this?" "Humans have always done things others said were impossible," Minho said. "Going to the moon, curing diseases, surviving in environments that should kill us. Maybe that's just what we do." "Those were different," Jiho argued. "Those were real challenges with real purposes. This is just a simulation. A test that doesn't matter. It matters to me," Una said quietly. Hana closed her datapad. "If you're going to do this, I want to monitor your vital signs from outside the simulation. The Academy rules allow 1 medical observer." "You think I can actually attempt the trial?" Una asked. "I think you're stubborn enough that they won't be able to stop you," Hana said with a small smile. "So someone should make sure you don't actually hurt yourself." That afternoon, Una met with Counselor Vexthar. His species looked like they were made of metal, with joints that clicked when they moved. He sat behind a desk that was too large, making Una feel small when she stood in front of it. "I have reviewed your request," Vexthar said. His voice sounded like grinding gears. "And I have reviewed your academic record. You are a good student, Una. Smart, careful in your work. This request is neither smart nor careful. I understand your concern," Una said. "Do you?" Vexthar leaned forward. "Let me show you something." He activated a holographic display. It showed a student, some kind of reptilian alien, inside the Crucible simulation. The student was screaming, pressing against an invisible wall, terror clear in every movement. "This student attempted the trial 2 years ago," Vexthar said. "He made it to stage 4. When he came out, he could not speak for 3 days. He left the Academy and never returned." Una watched the display. It was hard to see, but she did not look away. "The simulation is designed to push you past your limits," Vexthar continued. "It finds your fears and uses them. It makes you feel pain. Real pain, student Una. Your brain cannot tell the difference." "I understand," Una said again. "Then why?" Vexthar asked, and for the first time he sounded genuinely curious rather than stern.
"Why would you walk into something designed to break you?"
Una thought about her answer carefully. "Because someone declared it impossible without testing humans properly. Because giving up before trying feels wrong. Because if I don't at least attempt it, I'll always wonder." Vexthar studied her for a long moment. Then he made a sound like a sigh, though his species probably did not actually sigh. "Humans," he said, as if the word explained everything. "You are such a young species. So reckless, so stubborn." He paused. "I will approve your attempt, but you will have full medical monitoring, and if at any point your vital signs become dangerous, we will pull you out. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir," Una said. "And one more thing," Vexthar said as she turned to leave. "When you fail, and you will fail, student Una, do not let it destroy your confidence. Failure at the impossible is nothing to be ashamed of." Una nodded, but inside she thought, "I'm not planning to be ashamed." That evening, Yuna stood in front of the mirror in her quarters. She pulled her hair back into a tight ponytail. Tomorrow she would enter the crucible. Tomorrow she would face the impossible trial. She smiled at her reflection. Impossible was just another word for no one's figured it out yet. The simulation chamber looked ordinary from the outside. It was just a large white room with smooth walls and a single door. But Yuna knew that once she stepped inside, those walls would disappear. The chamber would become whatever the trial's AI decided it should be. Outside the chamber, a crowd had gathered. Word had spread through the academy that a human was attempting the crucible trial. Some students came to watch out of curiosity. Others came because they thought it would be entertaining to watch someone fail. Yuna stood in the preparation room with Hana, who was setting up medical monitoring equipment. Small sensors were attached to Yuna's temples, wrists, and chest. They would track her heart rate, brain activity, and stress levels. "If anything looks dangerous, they'll pull you out," Hana said, adjusting one of the sensors. "Don't try to be brave if you need to stop." "I won't," Yuna promised. Minho entered the room, followed by Taeyang, another human engineer who worked on the station's maintenance crew. Taeyang had gray in his hair and kind eyes. He had become something like a mentor to the younger human students. "I heard you're starting today," Taeyang said. "I wanted to wish you luck." "Thank you," Yuna said. "I've been thinking about what you said," Taeyang continued. "About humans being different. I think you might be right. We don't process impossible the same way other species do. When they see a wall, they stop. When we see a wall, we look for a way around it. Or through it. Or we just break the damn thing," Yuna smiled. "That's the plan." Master Kelvrith's voice came through the room's speakers. "Student Yuna, the chamber is ready. You may enter when prepared." Yuna took a deep breath. She reached up and tightened her ponytail, making sure her hair was secure. Then she looked at her friends. "See you on the other side," she said. She walked to the door. It opened with a soft hiss. As she stepped through, she turned back one more time and smiled at the observation window. Minho raised his hand in a small wave. Then Yuna walked into the white room and the door closed behind her. For a moment, nothing happened. The room was silent and empty. Then a voice spoke, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere. "Welcome to the Crucible trial. This simulation will test your abilities across 12 stages. Each stage must be completed to proceed. Failure at any stage will end the trial. Do you understand?" "I understand," Yuna said to the empty room. "Stage 1 will begin in 10 seconds, the voice said. Prepare yourself." Yuna counted in her head. 10, 9, 8. The white room dissolved. Suddenly, Yuna stood in a reactor control room. Red lights flashed everywhere. A loud alarm blared. Through a thick window, she could see a reactor core glowing with dangerous energy. The entire room shook. A holographic display appeared in front of her, showing reactor status. It was critical. Radiation levels were climbing. The reactor would explode in 8 minutes. Yuna looked around the room. There were tools on the walls, spare parts in cabinets, a manual on a desk. She had 8 minutes to stop a reactor meltdown with whatever she could find here. Most species would start by reading the manual. They would try to understand the problem completely before acting, but 8 minutes was not enough time to read and understand and plan. Yuna grabbed the tools and started working. In the observation room, Taeyang watched the screens showing what Yuna was experiencing. "She's not reading the manual," he said. "Should she be?" Minho asked. "Every other species starts with the manual," Master Kelvrith said. He stood near the back of the room watching. "They try to understand the system first. Yuna learns by doing," Taeyang said. "She always has." On the screen, Yuna was moving fast. She opened panels, tested connections, swapped out parts that looked damaged. Her movements were quick but not panicked. She made decisions in seconds that other species would spend minutes considering. "The reactor is adapting," one of the technicians monitoring the simulation said. "The AI is changing parameters to counter her actions." "Of course it is," Master Kelvrith said. "That's what it's designed to do, but Yuna was adapting too. When the first solution did not work, she tried another. And another. She was not trying to find the perfect solution. She was trying to find any solution that worked. With 40 seconds left on the countdown, Yuna connected 2 systems that were never meant to be connected. It was not elegant. It probably would not hold for long. But the reactor's energy levels started to drop. With 15 seconds left, the alarm stopped. The red lights turned yellow, then green. Stage 1 complete, the AI voice said. Prepare for Stage 2. In the observation room, several alien students made sounds of surprise. Yuna had completed Stage 1 in 6 minutes and 11 seconds. The previous record was 9 minutes. She didn't solve it the right way, one alien student said. But she solved it, Taeyang replied with a smile. Stage 2 began. The reactor room disappeared. Yuna now floated in zero gravity, surrounded by pieces of a broken satellite. The AI voice explained. She had to rebuild the satellite's communication array using the floating parts. But in zero gravity, every movement sent her spinning. Every action had an equal and opposite reaction. Yuna closed her eyes for a moment. She had trained for zero gravity at the academy, but training was different from doing. She opened her eyes and started to work. Stage 3 came next. It was a puzzle involving alien biochemistry. Yuna had to mix compounds to create an antidote for a poison. She had basic knowledge of chemistry, but this was beyond what she had studied. She mixed compounds and tested them on simulation samples. When something did not work, she tried something different. She was not elegant. She was not perfectly scientific, but she was fast and she learned from each failure. She's using trial and error, an alien observer said, sounding disapproving. That's so inefficient. But it's working, Minho said. Stage 4 tested resource management. Yuna had to keep a colony alive with limited food, water, and power. She had to make choices about what to prioritize. The AI kept throwing problems at her. A water leak, a power failure, a sick colonist. Yuna made decisions quickly. She did not try to save everything. She focused on what would keep the most people alive for the longest time. It was not pretty, but it worked. Stage 5 was a diplomatic simulation. Yuna had to negotiate peace between two alien species who had been fighting for generations. Every species expected this to be where Yuna would fail. Humans were known for being emotional, and emotions ruined diplomacy. But Yuna surprised everyone. She listened carefully to both sides. She noticed small things: tone of voice, body language, the words they chose and the words they avoided. Other species focused on the logical arguments. Yuna focused on the feelings underneath. She found common ground that pure logic had missed. She acknowledged hurt that rational minds had dismissed. In the end, she got both sides to agree to a ceasefire. How did she do that? An alien student whispered. She used emotion like a tool, Hana said quietly. She was watching Yuna's vital signs. Other species see emotion as a problem to overcome. Humans see it as information to use. Stage 6 was tactical defense. Yuna had to defend a base from attack with limited weapons and soldiers. She had to predict where the enemy would strike and deploy her resources accordingly. The enemy AI was smart. It learned from her movements. It adapted to her strategies. But Yuna adapted too. She made choices that were slightly random, slightly unpredictable. She did things that did not make perfect logical sense, but that worked anyway. When Stage 6 ended, Yuna stood in the White Room again. She was breathing hard. Sweat ran down her face, but she was smiling. Stage 6 complete, the AI voice said. No participant has reached Stage 7 in 114 years. Prepare yourself. In the observation room, the crowd had grown larger. News had spread through the entire academy. A human had reached Stage 7. It should have been impossible. Master Kelvrith stared at the screens. His galaxy eyes swirled with what might have been concern or might have been fascination. The AI should have stopped her by now, he said quietly. It should have learned her patterns. Maybe, Taeyang said. The AI can't learn patterns that keep changing. Minho watched his friend on the screen. Yuna was tired. He could see it in the way she stood, the way she moved. But she was still smiling. She's enjoying this, he said in amazement. In the White Room, Yuna retied her ponytail. Stage 7 was about to begin. No one had passed this stage in over a century. She took a breath, steadied herself, and waited. Stage 7 beginning, the AI voice said. The White Room changed again, and Yuna walked forward into the impossible. Stage 7 appeared around Yuna like a nightmare taking shape. She stood on a platform in space. No walls, no ceiling, just an endless black void dotted with stars. In front of her were two holographic displays. One showed a colony ship with 1,000 people on board. The other showed a space station with 100 people. Both were in danger. An asteroid field was approaching and it would destroy both. Yuna had power enough to move one of them to safety. Only one. The AI voice explained the situation with cold precision. She must choose which group would live and which would die. This was the stage where every previous candidate had failed. The choice seemed simple: save 1,000 instead of 100. The math was obvious, but the trial punished obvious choices. It was designed to break people psychologically, to make them understand that sometimes there were no good answers. Yuna looked at both displays. She studied the ships, the asteroid field, the available power. Her mind raced through possibilities. In the observation room, the crowd watched in silence. This was the famous Stage 7. This was where heroes became broken. She has to choose the colony ship, an alien student said. 1,000 lives versus 100. It's the only logical choice. But that's what the AI expects, Master Kelvrith said quietly. Every species makes the logical choice, and every species fails. On the screen, Yuna was moving, but she was not selecting either ship. She was pulling up different displays, checking power levels, examining the asteroid field itself. What is she doing? Someone asked. I don't know, Taeyang said, but he was smiling. Yuna worked fast. She rerouted power not to move the ships, but to activate the defensive systems on both. Then she calculated the exact trajectory of the largest asteroids. Finally, she fired missiles, not at the asteroids, but at specific points in the field. The missiles exploded. The explosions pushed asteroids into other asteroids. The field's trajectory changed just slightly. It was a chain reaction, carefully calculated in seconds. Both ships needed to move only a small distance now, and there was just enough power for that. The colony ship moved to safety. The space station moved to safety. Both survived. Stage 7 complete, the AI voice said, and for the first time it almost sounded confused. In the observation room, the crowd erupted. Even the alien students who had been skeptical were making sounds of amazement. She broke the scenario, Master Kelvrith said. He sounded stunned. She refused the choice and created a third option. That's very human, Minho said proudly, but there was no time to celebrate. Stage 8 began immediately. Yuna found herself in a burning building. Smoke filled her lungs. Heat pressed against her skin. The simulation made it feel completely real. She could feel pain. She could feel fear. The AI voice gave her instructions. Reach the roof. There was a rescue ship waiting. But the building was collapsing. The stairs were destroyed, and the fire was spreading fast. This stage tested physical endurance and creative problem-solving under pressure. Most candidates panicked. The smoke and heat were too real. The fear was too strong. Yuna coughed, her eyes watering from the smoke. But she did not panic. She looked around, assessing the situation with an engineer's eye. She could not use the stairs, so she would make her own path. Using debris from the collapsed building, she created a makeshift ladder. When that was not enough, she broke through walls, choosing the weakest points. When the fire blocked her path, she used water from broken pipes to clear the way. It was not elegant. It was desperate and improvised. But it worked. She reached the roof with burns on her hands and smoke in her lungs. The simulation made her feel every bit of pain. Stage 8 complete, the AI said. Stage 9 was different. There was no physical challenge. Instead, Yuna found herself in a white room facing a holographic display. The AI presented her with a mathematical paradox, a problem that seemed to have no solution. Other species had spent hours trying to solve it, running calculations, attempting to find the logical answer. Yuna looked at the problem for 2 minutes. Then she said, "This problem has no solution." "Explain," the AI voice said. "It's a trick," Yuna said. "You're not testing if I can solve impossible math. You're testing if I know when to stop trying. The answer is to recognize that some problems are designed to have no answer." There was a pause. Then, Stage 9 complete. In the observation room, an alien mathematician made a sound like choking. She just dismissed one of the most complex mathematical paradoxes in galactic history. She didn't dismiss it, Hana said, watching Yuna's vital signs with concern. She understood it. She just didn't waste time on it. But the celebration was short-lived. Hana's expression turned serious. Her stress levels are climbing. Her heart rate is elevated. She's exhausted. Can she continue? Master Kelvrith asked. Physically, yes, Hana said. But 3 more stages? I don't know. Stage 10 began. Yuna stood in a laboratory. The AI explained. A deadly virus was spreading. She had to create a cure using the available equipment and samples. She had 20 minutes. But as Yuna started to work, things went wrong. Equipment malfunctioned. Samples were contaminated. The AI was not just testing her knowledge, it was actively sabotaging her efforts. Every species that reached this stage tried to fight the AI's interference. They tried to fix the equipment to work around the problems. But the AI was always one step ahead. Yuna tried a different approach. Instead of fighting the malfunctions, she used them. When equipment broke, she salvaged parts from it. When samples were contaminated, she studied the contamination itself. She was not trying to work despite the problems. She was working with the problems, using them as resources. With 3 minutes left, she completed the cure. It was not the cure the AI had expected. It was messy and improvised. But it worked. Stage 10 complete, the AI said, and this time it definitely sounded surprised. Stage 11 appeared. Yuna stood in a command center. Through the windows, she could see a fleet of enemy ships approaching. She had defensive weapons, but they were old and damaged. She had shield generators, but they had limited power. The enemy fleet was massive. The AI presented detailed tactical data, weapon capabilities, shield strengths, movement patterns. Against such force, defeat seemed certain. Every previous candidate had tried to find the perfect tactical solution. They had studied the enemy, planned their defense, tried to outthink the attacking fleet. All had failed. Yuna looked at the enemy fleet. Then she looked at her own defenses. Then she did something unexpected. She opened a communication channel to the enemy. "This is Yuna," she said to the holographic enemy commander. "I want to negotiate." "There is no negotiation," the enemy replied. "Surrender or be destroyed." "I'm not surrendering," Yuna said. "But I'm also not fighting a battle I can't win. So let's talk about what you really want." What followed was not a tactical battle. It was a negotiation. Yuna pointed out the cost of attacking her position. She offered alternatives. She found common ground where logic said there was none. The enemy fleet did not leave, but they also did not attack. Yuna had created a stalemate where none should have been possible. Stage 11 complete, the AI said, and now it sounded almost frustrated. In the observation room, the crowd was beyond amazement. They were witnessing something that should not be possible. 11 stages. No one in living memory had reached stage 12. Master Kelvrith stared at the screens. "The AI is learning from her," he said. "But she keeps changing her approach. She doesn't have a pattern to predict." "That's because she doesn't think in patterns," Taeyang said. "She thinks in possibilities." Minho watched his friend on the screen. Yuna was leaning against a wall, breathing hard. Her face was pale. Her hands were shaking slightly, but her eyes were still alert, still determined. "She's exhausted," Minho said quietly. "Stage 12 is supposed to be the hardest. How can she do one more?" Hana checked her monitors. "Her vitals are at the edge of acceptable. If they go any higher, I'll have to pull her out." "Don't," a voice said behind them. They turned. Counselor Vexthar had entered the observation room. His metal face was impossible to read, but his voice sounded different. Softer somehow. "Let her finish," Vexthar said. "She's earned that much." On the screen, Yuna pushed herself away from the wall. She stood up straight. She reached up and retied her ponytail one more time. "Bring on stage 12, she said to the empty air. The white room appeared around her again, and this time something was different. The AI voice spoke, but it sounded almost respectful. "Stage 12 beginning," it said. "Final stage. Prepare yourself," Yuna smiled. It was a tired smile, but it was genuine. "I'm ready," she said, and she meant it. The white room of stage 12 was different from the others. It was quiet, peaceful almost. In the center of the room sat a single pedestal, and on that pedestal rested a device. The device was strange. It looked like a sphere made of interlocking metal rings that moved slowly, constantly shifting but never quite changing shape. There were no buttons, no screens, no obvious controls. It did not glow. It did not make sound. It simply existed. The AI voice spoke. "Stage 12. Final test. Your task, understand, that was all. No time limit, no additional instructions. Just one word, understand." Yuna walked closer to the pedestal. She circled it slowly, looking at the device from every angle. She had seen recordings of previous candidates attempting this stage. They had tried everything. Some had tried to take the device apart. Others had run scans on it. Some had attempted to activate it through various means. All had failed. The cruel genius of Stage 12 was in its simplicity. There was no problem to solve because the task itself was the problem. How do you understand something that may not be understandable? How do you solve a puzzle that might have no solution? Every species that reached this point had treated it as a challenge to overcome. They had applied their intelligence, their knowledge, their logic. And the more they tried, the more the AI adapted to counter them. Una stood in front of the device for exactly 30 seconds. She did not touch it. She did not scan it. She simply looked at it. Then she laughed. It was not a bitter laugh or a defeated laugh. It was genuine. A real laugh of understanding and perhaps a little bit of amusement at the universe's sense of humor. In the observation room, everyone went still. "Why is she laughing?" an alien student whispered. "I don't know," Master Kelvrith said quietly. His galaxy eyes swirled with intense focus. On the screen, Una turned to face the observation window. She could not actually see the people watching her, but she knew they were there. She spoke to the empty air, knowing the AI was listening, knowing everyone was listening. "I understand," she said. Her voice was tired but clear. "This is not about the device at all, is it?" The AI did not respond, but Una continued anyway. "Every species that got here tried to understand the device. They scanned it, tested it, analyzed it. They treated understanding as something you achieve through study and logic. And the more they tried, the more you adapted to stop them." Una walked back to the pedestal. She looked down at the strange device with its moving rings. But this stage is not about understanding the device. It's about understanding when to stop trying. It's about recognizing that some things might be impossible. You want to see if I know my limitations? You want to see if I can accept defeat gracefully? She paused, then smiled again. "The problem is you made a mistake. You designed this test based on species that see impossible as an endpoint. But humans don't think like that." Una reached out and picked up the device. It was heavier than it looked. The rings continued their slow movement in her hands. "You're right that I can't understand this device," she said. "Not right now. Maybe not ever. Maybe it's unknowable. Maybe it has no purpose. Maybe it's just a test object with no meaning at all." She turned the device over in her hands, examining it calmly. "But here's what you didn't account for," she continued. "Humans don't see impossible as a wall. We see it as a puzzle we haven't solved yet. You want me to acknowledge that this is impossible? Fine, I acknowledge it. This device is beyond my current understanding." The observation room was completely silent. Every eye was on the screen. "But that doesn't mean I give up," Una said. She walked to the edge of the white room, the device still in her hands. "I can't understand it today, so I'll try again tomorrow. And the next day, and the day after that, I'll carry this impossible problem with me, and someday maybe I'll figure it out, or maybe I won't. But I'll keep trying anyway." She looked up at where she imagined the cameras were. That's what humans do. We carry our impossible problems with us until they're not impossible anymore. We don't accept defeat. We just change our timeline. Impossible today doesn't mean impossible forever. The AI was silent for a long moment. In the observation room, Master Kelvrith leaned forward, his 4 crystalline arms gripping the railing in front of him. Then the AI voice spoke, and if a machine could sound uncertain, it did. "Clarify your position. Are you conceding that Stage 12 cannot be completed?" "No," Una said simply. "I'm saying I've completed it in the only way that makes sense for a human. I understand that the device is currently beyond my understanding. I accept that limitation, but I'm taking the problem with me. The test was to understand. I understand that this will take time. Maybe a lot of time, maybe forever. But I understand that trying is the point, not succeeding." Another long silence. The AI was processing something it had never encountered before. A candidate who acknowledged impossibility while simultaneously refusing to be defeated by it. Finally, the AI voice spoke. "Stage 12 and complete. Trial passed by redefinition of parameters." The white room dissolved. Una stood in the simulation chamber, still holding the device, which had become a simple metal sphere now that the simulation had ended. The door opened. In the observation room, chaos erupted. Students were making sounds in dozens of alien languages, all expressing the same thing: shock, amazement, disbelief. A human had passed the crucible trial. It should have been impossible. Master Kelvrith stood frozen, staring at the screen. After a long moment, he spoke quietly. "She did not beat the trial. She changed what beating the trial means. Is that allowed? Someone asked. Apparently, Counselor Vexthar said, his voice carrying what might have been amusement. It is now. The door to the preparation room opened. Yuna walked through, still carrying the metal sphere. She looked exhausted. Her face was pale. Her hair had come loose from its ponytail and she was moving slowly. But she was smiling. Minho rushed forward. You did it. You actually did it, did I? Yuna asked. She held up the sphere. I still don't understand this thing. That's not the point, Hana said, running a medical scanner over Yuna. You need to sit down. Your vitals are a mess. In a minute, Yuna said. She looked at the growing crowd of students pressing against the observation windows, trying to see the human who had passed the impossible trial. Taeyang approached, his eyes bright. How did you know what to do? I didn't, Yuna admitted. I just did what felt right. The trial kept trying to predict me, but I wasn't following any pattern. I was just being human. Master Kelvrith entered the room. The crowd parted for him. He stood in front of Yuna, his 4 crystalline arms folded in a gesture that might have been respect. Student Yuna, he said formally, you have completed the Crucible trial. This achievement has not occurred in 112 years. The Academy recognizes your accomplishment. Thank you, sir, Yuna said. However, Master Kelvrith continued, your completion has created a problem. The trial must now be redesigned. You have proven that our analysis was incomplete. We did not account for human cognitive patterns. We did not understand how your species approaches impossible challenges. I can help with that, Yuna offered. If you want. Master Kelvrith's galaxy eyes swirled. I believe that would be valuable. But first you should rest. You have earned it. As the crowd began to disperse, Counselor Vexthar approached. I told you that failure at the impossible was nothing to be ashamed of, he said. Yes, sir, Yuna replied. I was wrong, Vexthar said. You have shown me that humans do not fail at the impossible. You simply refuse to recognize it as impossible. I am not certain if this is wisdom or insanity. Maybe both, Yuna said with a tired smile. Over the following days, Yuna became something of a legend at the Academy. Students from dozens of species wanted to meet her, to understand how she had passed the trial. But Yuna was not much interested in fame. She went back to her studies, back to her engineering classes. She kept the metal sphere on her desk. Sometimes she would pick it up and turn it over in her hands, thinking she still did not understand what the original device had been or what it represented. But that was fine. She had time. Minho visited her quarters one evening and found her at her desk, the sphere in her hands, staring at it with focused concentration. Still trying to figure it out? He asked. Always, Yuna said. That's the thing about impossible problems. They only stay impossible if you stop trying. The other human students are getting more applications to the Academy, Minho said. Everyone wants to see what else humans can do. That's good, Yuna said. She set down the sphere and turned to face him. We have a lot to learn from the other species. And maybe they have something to learn from us too. Like what? Yuna thought for a moment. That impossible is just a word. That giving up before trying is the only real failure. That being stubborn enough to keep going. Even when the math says you can't win, sometimes that's enough. She picked up the sphere again, feeling its weight in her hands. My grandfather used to say that humans are persistence hunters. We're not the fastest or the strongest, but we keep going. We just keep going until the problem gives up before we do. And if the problem never gives up? Minho asked. Yuna smiled. Then we keep going anyway. That's what makes us human. She looked at the sphere, at the mystery she had carried out of the Crucible trial. Someday she might understand it.